folks, thanks for stopping by. In this video we're going to talk about right hand technique. I did a video earlier in the week about creating interest with our cowboy chords, and someone posted a question about they have a trouble with the right hand, if there's any kind of things we can do to make the right hand more interesting. As I understood the question, he was saying that he's good with his left hand motion but has a hard time controlling his right hand. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the right hand. Before we get started, I appreciate all you folks sharing kind words and watching my videos. Any help you can give in supporting the channel by subscribing, liking, and commenting is greatly appreciated, and I really appreciate any help you can give me in that regard. So the key to the right hand is a couple fold, so let's talk about it. The right hand I like to use and think in terms of eighth notes. So typically we think in terms of quarter notes, right? Doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, right? I like to think in terms of 8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I just mute the strings, this is kind of the motion our right hand is going to have. All the strums that we do are kind of a derivative of this type of a motion right here, which is just eighth notes. The guitar is basically a drum, right? So anything you could play with 2 sticks on a snare drum, you could play with a pick on a guitar. I could go. Anything like that I can make work. So we want to talk about how we're going to break this out. And there's a couple tricks I like to use first off. First off is how I hold the pick. So there's tons of ways to do this. There's no right or wrong way. I'm going to show you the way I do it, and then you can decide for yourself if it's right or not. Because a lot of people want to hold a pick like that. See if you can see that. Which is to say that I have it between my first finger and my thumb like this, and I have a really hard grip on it. So there's no way the pick can move. So in order to play an up and down rhythm, I have to use my wrist. And a lot of people are very successful with that, but that never really works for me. I want to get the biggest results with the least amount of effort. So I hold the pick kind of like this between my thumb and my first finger, kind of off the point of my fingertip, kind of like I had a long fingernail. Okay? And the trick of this is you're going to hold it just firm enough so the pick moves in your hand, so the pick does all of the work and your wrist doesn't have to. So now when I do a down strum or an up strum, the pick is doing the effort and I don't have to change my wrist position like this. Okay, I can just have the pick do all the work, and I can still have that motion, but I don't have this side-to-side kind of motion with my pick. The other thing I'm going to do is when I strike the strings, if these are the strings, I'm going to try and just kiss right off the face of the strings. I don't want to dig in too far because that's going to create resistance. The other thing I like to do is just slightly angle the pick. So if this is flat, I don't know if you can see that or not, if this is flat, I'm just going to take my thumb and push it down. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and have, instead of the pick hitting flat, like that, I want the edge of the pick to hit first. So it doesn't have to be a 90-degree angle or even a 45. Just the edge has to hit first. And if the edge hits first, the pick is going to roll right off the string and eliminate a lot of that resistance. So here's the difference if I flat picked it. You can tell it's sticking a lot. I can't keep a steady rhythm with that. But if I just let the edge hit first, it makes it extremely smooth. I can do that all day. So I can have all kinds of speed just with that motion of the pick right there. Okay? So that's kind of the beginning part of how we're doing it. So that's the right hand technique. The other thing I like to do is I like to have my pinky or my third finger, both, run as a stop. Okay? So I have contact with the top. And that keeps my pick relatively over top of the strings. If I'm just freehanding it, not having any kind of contact point with the guitar, I have no control over my right hand. I don't know where I'm going to be hitting the strings or where I'm putting the chord down. Right? So if I keep my hand floating right there, I know where all those notes are. I don't have to look at my right hand because I know where the pick is. So those are the two big secrets, and they're going to feel really awkward to you at first. Okay, so the trick is that you just have to work with them enough so that they become second nature and they become more comfortable. So now if I go back to this eighth note rhythm, And I'm gonna just mute the strings for us so we can just kind of hear that. So if I'm going just with this down up motion, that doesn't really sound like anything, does it? But if I just hit harder on 2 and 4, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, now I have a little bit more of an interesting rhythm. Right? So if I put that in a chord, so now what I'm doing to create that mute over here is I'm actually just taking pressure off the chord, and I'm just laying, in the case of a G where I have a bunch of open strings, I'm just laying my second finger down. So now I'm creating this interesting kind of a strummed rhythm, but my right hand's just doing down, up, down, up, down, up. So if we just take 2 of the most common strum patterns there are, the first one we'll call down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, okay? Typical strum that works with a million songs. You probably know that, or maybe even played that one before. But all my hand is doing is this down-up motion, and then I'm just missing some of the strokes to create a different rhythm or a derivative of the rhythm all around that. So if I went, let's just play straight. So I can keep a nice steady rhythm going. My hand is just doing that same motion. And now many of the rhythms are just going to be a derivative of this right hand motion. I'm going to change it out. If I was going to do a ballad, I could go down, down, down. And if I kept the strum going, it would look like this. Down, 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 down. Oftentimes I'll just do a slight bounce down here, but I'm still using the bounce to keep it in time. So what we want our right hand to be is we want the right hand to be our drummer. So if that right hand is going, so that's all 3 of those rhythms are the same right hand motion, down, up, down, up, down, up, and I'm just choosing to either place the chord in a specific place to have it be interesting, or I'm missing strokes with my right hand to create a strum pattern that's going to sound different from one to another. One of the tricks really to accompanying ourselves on a song is having a pretty good vocabulary of things we can do rhythmically to give interest to the music or the song we're playing. Like we said in the last one, if you have one strum, it's going to be pretty boring. And there's amazing people. If you want to reference, think in terms of, James Taylor. He can play a bunch of songs by himself right in a row, and they all sound totally different because he has such a unique rhythmic style, which I really like a lot. Also makes it really hard to play like him because it's such a unique sound. So that's how I would approach it with chords. Now, if you're having a hard time picking the same string that your fingers are on, that's a whole different thing, right? So that's going to be an exercise that you need for articulating the notes. The easiest way to do this is this crawling exercise where I'm going to just assign a finger to each fret and I'm going to alternate pick the notes up and down. Okay? So I'm going to start in the first fret and I'm going to go first fret, second fret, third fret, and I'm just alternate picking every other note. This is not only going to give your hand a great workout, it's going to stretch your fingers out. You're going to feel this really quick. Okay? But it's also going to help you pick the same note your fingers are on. And I can very simply do it right in order. Now when I get to the high E string, I'm just going to go up 1 fret and come back down. Back up a fret on the low E. Up again. once you get good at this, it probably takes you a minute, 2 minutes to get from there up. Do that as a little warm-up. You don't want to sit and do that for a half hour. You're going to tear your hand up. It's going to hurt. But the benefits you'll get from that kind of an exercise as far as controlling your right hand picking the same note that your left hand is on is amazing. Okay. Now you could go through again and we could use double. So I could play eighth notes. I could do 2 picks on each note. Or I could do 3 notes. And so on. Okay, so you can kind of go up, you can do 4 notes all the way up and all the way back down. So that's going to get your right hand happening. If you have any kind of inclination of trying to learn the fingerboard, call out the notes that you're playing. It'd be, you'd be amazing workouts. 2 birds with 1 stone at that point, right? You'd be able to call out the notes and get the notes of the neck memorized and also have this great workout. Now I can take any combination of this once I get comfortable with that, okay? So I could go 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4. Any combination of these fingers all the way up and down is really going to help your right hand get used to picking the same note that your finger's on. You're going to have to jump around. If I'm doing a single note line like that, I'll oftentimes just have my palm resting on the bridge of the guitar and my hands touching. And that way I can keep things muted that I don't want to ring, okay? And I can control where my right hand is so I can find these notes within it. Another great exercise to get your right hand happening is just pick a chord. Pick a C chord. And just come up with a random picking pattern by skipping strings. So in this case I'm going A, B, D, G. So that's just causing me to have to jump all over the place to pick those notes. And it doesn't matter what the chord is. You can change the different chords, just change the lowest note, the root note, or use different combinations of strings. But all of these kind of things, this is just repetition. All of playing an instrument is just repetition. You got to do it 10,000 times, right? That's the old rule. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more it just happens without you having to think about it. Ultimately, you want to get to a point where you don't have to really look at your right hand. It's hard enough to play the guitar just left hand wise. If you have to be looking over here to try and decide what notes you're playing in this back and forth kind of thing, you're never going to get it, right? So you have to turn your right hand and make it automatic and let it just kind of rock right through that. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys and you find it useful in your playing. It worked for me, so I'm happy to share it with you. So as always, thanks so much for checking out my videos, and you guys have a fantastic day.